What a beautiful film. It won an award, I guess, at the Telluride Mountain Film Festival recently, and with good reason, for Best Short. So there's more to come, and there's lots to do. So that's what this evening is about. And I can tell you that, again, back to my own childhood, I watched the communities up and down the Hudson River really literally transform the Hudson from a dump and a sewer to a sacred place, just by changing their attitudes and some direct action and a lot of music, thanks to Pete Seeger and others. Okay, before we move on, I want to mention that Charlotte Jorgensen's paintings are downstairs, also inspired by water, and I encourage you to take a look at them and talk to Charlotte afterwards if you'd like to learn more about those things. Up next, I'm going to introduce you right now. Matt Mosley is up. He is an interesting dude. He's a guy who has had several careers. Do you agree? You agree. He's your dad. All right. Why don't you introduce him? You want to? Do you want to tell everybody about him? No? Okay. Well, just his resume is too long, so I'll just say he was involved with politics. He's been involved with some crazy adventures as a swimmer, world record holding swim adventures that are spectacular and amazing. He helps people with their messaging and their sort of sharing of information. And he worked with somebody who had a particular skill in messaging, Hunter S. Thompson, in helping. Johnny Depp asked him to help with Hunter Thompson's, blasting his ashes out of a cannon and things like that are attention-getting. Anyway, those are just a few of the things that are part of Matt Mosley's life. Interesting guy. He's here. Please welcome right now, Matt Mosley.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. And I see so many friends and family and a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. And I'm just really happy to be here at eTown. And thank you very much, Nick and Helen Forrester, for having us. Because eTown could not be the more perfect place for tonight. We are here to celebrate great music with our friend David Amram. But it's also about a bigger cause and a bigger issue out there, which is water. And environmental activism. So before we get to David, I just want to show a couple of clips from 3 swims that I did. The first one was back in June of 2014, which was across Lake Pontchartrain. And it was 25 miles across, and we swam for the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation. Then we went down to Puerto Rico last June and did the first swim from the island of Culebra to Fajardo, Puerto Rico. And then lastly, 4 American rivers. We swam from basically Moab down the Colorado River through Canyonlands National Park and ended up at the confluence of the Green River. They were all unique in that they followed World Open Water Swimming guidelines, so I wasn't able to touch a boat or really touch another person. I had to start from the shore and end from the shore, no wetsuit or flotation or anything. But I think what really made the swims very unique was pairing them with an environmental cause, because it made it a lot more than just about me or swimming. It made it about something much greater. And so when I was in the water sometimes, I would think about how hard it would be, and I would think, but it's not near as hard as the Lake Pontchartrain Basin worked for 25 years to clean up the lake before it was a toxic dump. So keep swimming. And I think the other part that made it extremely unique that I was later to find out was pairing adventure swimming with jazz and music. And so I had first met David at a funeral, and it was the funeral for Hunter S. Thompson, where we blew his ashes out of a cannon. And David played with Lyle Lovett and Johnny Depp. And it was there that David and I struck up a long friendship. And when I thought about what I wanted to achieve on the Lake Pontchartrain swim, and I wanted music, I could think of no better person than David, not because of solely the music, but because I knew he'd get it. He got the reason why he was out there, and it wasn't just about music. So let's watch David Amram. I had said to my coach, Randy, during a feeding, Randy says, "You look like you're dancing in the water. You're looking great. You're looking strong." And And so I started riffing in my head about a little song called Dancing in the Water. And then I said, David, why don't you make up a song called Dancing in the Water? So that's exactly what we're going to see here. We'll roll it. And this is David just improvising, as David Amram does so beautifully, in the middle of the night on a 14-foot party barge and 5-foot swells. You wrote a song?
Matt, here comes your song. Dancing in the Water for that great dancer and prancer, Mr. Matt Mosley.
Matt, he wrote Dancing in the Water.
You might wonder who that guy is dancing in the water so late at night. You might wonder who that guy is dancing in the water. It's out of sight. It's Matt Mosley dancing in the water for you. Well, you might say, I want the next waltz, I want the next foxtrot too. I want a mambo in the water with Matt Mosley too. But he's dancing in the water. Yes, he's dancing in the water. And it's too late if you want to have introduced to your daughter. Unless she's got water wings and she can dance in the water too, and swim 25 miles like he's gonna do, just to help Lake Pontchartrain to be clean again, for which we can only say amen, as he is dancing in the water, the Matt Mosley style for all of us and all of you too. Now we can sing along on all the boats. The lyrics are so simple, don't you know? And in 8 more bars, we hope the boat next to us will join in the show. You can answer the refrain without any type of pain. Here we go now, let's see how the song does go. Dancing in the water, dancing in the water, dancing in the water with Matt Mosley, dancing in the water tonight. New Orleans is cooking as it always does. It makes us feel so right. Well, Matt's from Louisiana, but he went to Boulder, Colorado to live each and every day. But he told me a few years ago that his heart was in Louisiana, and that's where it's always going to stay, 'cause that's his spiritual home. And don't you know, when he got it, he'll never feel alone. And we won't either. We can take a breather after the ride is over, 'cause he's dancing in the water for all of us tonight. Yes, dancing in the water, that's the Matt Mosley way to make the lake all right. So it will be clean again for all of us to see again, for which we can only say merci, amen, as we dance and we ride sitting down in the water tonight.
All right, feeding what, number 7?
I haven't.
We're over a quarter of the way.
I'll tell you what I think you better do. The same thing as me when you go home after this very, very special evening is through. You can turn on the shower and dance there as well, and you'll know that you're doing the thing that we all ought to do. So if you want some romance and you can't really dance, turn on the water as fast as you can and try and dance, and then you'll be dancing in the water before you know it, don't you know? So Matt, on behalf of all of us who are here tonight, we know our grandchildren will have a place to go to swim where the water's clean and the future is bright. So that's really all we've got to say, except merci to you. You really done something right. Set an example of generosity and good citizenship for all to see. Helping to do something that really does mean that our sacred ancient waters will be clean as you are dancing in the water. Tell every son and daughter it's almost more than you can bear. It's even hipper than Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, because it's dancing in the water with Matt Mosley too tonight.
Thank you, David Amram, everybody. That was, yeah, that's how much fun we were having. Wow, it brings back some memories, doesn't it, David? And so Wayne Ewing had made a documentary, Dancing in the Water. We kept swimming throughout the night, and we had started at 9 o'clock in the evening, swam through the night at dark, and so about sunrise, you could see the sun starting to poke over the horizon, just giving it just a little bit of light. And David had been playing straight for 9 hours. The camera documentary crew was like, "Can we please take a break?" And he's like, "No. This is the money shot. This is why we came." And so here is David playing at sunset or sunrise while the full moon, which had been our friend all night long, kind of guiding us towards the other shore, was setting on the other horizon. And it was anybody that was there. There's a couple of people in this room that were there. It was a very magical moment, and it was the whole reason why we put the swim together in the first place. So let's watch David playing just a little bit of flute at sunrise.
What it did was it brought out for everyone, it gave the experience a soundtrack, that it brought to life through music what the experience was like for me in the water. I had planned that there was going to be winds from the south. That's why we had changed even the fundamental direction of the swim to go, instead of north to south, we were going to go south to north, because of the winds. So I thought I would have favorable winds, but then in the middle of the night, they changed to the west, and it became a lot more challenging. And I could see the merman on the boats, in the boat just rocking back and forth, and his arm was, and it's like, if it's much choppier, it could be difficult out there for the boats.
It's sunrise. So I had been swimming for like 9 hours, and then the sun came up, and it was, moved into 10, 11 hours. And I have to say, that's when it started getting extremely difficult, as you can imagine. And so there's a lot of the physical training that goes on here, and I don't know if Randy Soler is in the audience tonight, my coach. All right, Randy, whoop. And so the physical training, definitely hard. Well, nutrition, we fed every 25 minutes to make sure I kept getting nutrients in my body. But I think it came down in the end, it got very difficult to mental conditioning and training. And I just want to acknowledge somebody who's here tonight, Mark Williams. Mark I worked with him for a couple of years beforehand on really dialing in that when it got tough, what were you going to do? How were you going to react? We even visualized getting attacked by an alligator. That was a fun meditation session. But I did overcome it and was able to use some of those techniques, and it was really important. Mark has a new program out on Gaia TV that's a 14-part series that I encourage you all to look at. It's a great program. And so we did finish, and we'll cue up just the last piece of the Pontchartrain swim on the finish. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. All right, Mark. We were joined by Papa Molly and Uganda Roberts at sunrise.
While I was out there fighting to finish, little did we know on the boats that there were people fighting an alligator right on the shore that they were pulled out about 40 minutes before I got there. It was a like 5-foot long alligator, and people were like, oh, at least they got the alligator out. But that doesn't make me feel more comfortable because there's probably a bigger mama alligator out there, and they don't like splashing. That's what they go for, splashing. All right, thanks. That's like Pontchartrain. So that was Lake Pontchartrain, and then Randy, my coach, came up with this great idea to let's go swim in Puerto Rico, and so we went down there to Puerto Rico and we did a swim that was from the island of Culebra to Fajardo. It was a fantastic time. We were going to show a couple pictures, but I think, Nick, let's go straight to the American Rivers video for Canyonlands. And just to take a second, that the Culebra swim was fantastic. We kind of set it up. 6 weeks after that, we were going to go down to the Colorado River. And Matt Rice and I talked about this swim for several years. Matt and I worked on a hydropower campaign to stop a hydropower project in Aspen on the Castle Creek River, and that's how we started working with American Rivers. So we started talking about the swim for years ago, but Matt keeps having babies. So he wasn't really able to go on the trip, and we had planned, like, we were going to have press conferences and the infamous string dusters and all sorts of different things surrounding the swim, and the Park Service said, absolutely not. We don't want other people trying this. This is a ridiculous idea.
We don't want other people, you know, with a bunch of exposure, people coming down the river. So it chiseled itself down into a very small team. And, you know, I just want to take a second because the team aspect of all of these swims was extremely important. There's some people here tonight who were on the team. Colby Ward, who's a great skier. He was here, did communications and logistics. My cousin Glenn Mangum, Glenn's in here in the audience. And Mark Williams, of course, is on the Canyonlands team. And Jonathan Barch is here tonight as well. But I really do want to say that this swim originated 20 years ago, and it's what got me into swimming and back into swimming in my life. That you know, Kristen and I met in Telluride, and we came to Boulder, and she gave me a canoe for my birthday, and with the canoe came a trip down this stretch of the river, and this was about 20 years ago. And this is while Kristen was in law school studying to be a water lawyer. And so I just want to say a big thanks to my family, to Kristen, to Charlie, to Amelia, for always supporting so much of the swims. And yeah, really, thank you. They were really there on the front lines and really, you know, the morning training sessions, and Kristen was always so supportive of all the swims. But you'll see, you know, so this was a very special place in my heart, Canyonlands. It's extremely, extremely beautiful, and it's where Matt and I and American Rivers really teamed up. So let's just watch a quick video by Tom Winter about the Canyonlands swim.
Got it?
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ready?
Thank you!
Okay, official time, 13 hours, 57 minutes, and 20 seconds.
I was like, hey, I don't want another. Well, Culebra was 12 hours, 1 minute. Key West, 5 hours, 1 minute.
There's no way that anybody could ever do this by themselves. It takes a big team effort, and that's part of the art of swimming and the art of these projects. It's like Christo said, you know, it's the art of putting it together is part of the beauty of the achievement.
So, ending here about, with American Rivers and a lot of the reason why we're here tonight and a lot of the motivation for getting down Canyonlands. I mean, American Rivers is really on the front lines of a lot of the water battles that we take for granted in the West. We worked on a Castle Creek project in Aspen. Matt is definitely involved and highly involved in protecting the Grand Canyon from development. And so there's a lot of things that we don't really see. And so tonight, I wanted to take a second to please encourage everybody here to get involved in American Rivers, fill out a card in the back. Mandy is here. You can talk with her. You can talk to Matt Rice. But they do amazing, amazing work. Acknowledged by Outside Magazine as one of the top 25 environmental nonprofits out there. And so it's very, very good. So thank you, American Rivers. It's great. But we got some music ahead of us. So, as I mentioned, I met David 10 years ago at Owl Farm at Hunter Thompson's place, which was crazy circumstances. But we went on to develop a pretty decent and deep friendship and spent some great nights with David in New York City. We have danced on tables with sombreros on our heads and at Mexican restaurants. And, you can read about David's history, or you can read the books about his history, and I'm not going to go into it all here, and I couldn't. But, he was an original beat. We have a piece of history here with us in the building this evening. He played with Dizzy Gillespie and Thelonious Monk and Paquito de Rivera. He's been around the world, 276 symphonies. Right now, he has a symphony about This Land Is Your Land, variations on a song by Woody Guthrie that's currently nominated for a Grammy. And on his way over here, he seemed to somehow put out a 5-CD box set of all of his movie scores, which included The Manchurian Candidate and Splendor in the Grass. And this is with Frank Sinatra. And so it's really amazing. But what I find amazing about David, it's his music, but it's what he brings to the music, and that he's so incredibly engaged in the world around him. He's 85 years old, and at 84, he played the longest jazz gig of his entire life, which was 15 hours on a party barge in the middle of the night. And so I think without further ado, let's bring out the man himself, the legend. And, Wynton Marsalis said about David Amram, he has the soul of a New Orleanian. And that's about the best compliment any person could ever pay to somebody. So without further ado, Mr. David Amram. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to thank all of you for coming to be part of something that was so beautiful when it actually happened. None of us could believe it was happening, and mostly during that historic swim. I knew Matt could deal with just about anything because in 2005, when they had Hunter's ashes blasted out of the cannon, all of the world's leading egomaniacs all tried to crash the party. And actually, Johnny Depp, bless his heart, didn't want it to be a show business disgusting, narcissistic, egomaniac trip, but rather something to honor a wonderful American writer who dreamed that could be what he could do to say farewell. And the whole event celebrated American novelists and artists and poets. It was really quite extraordinary. And Matt somehow was able to deal with all that and make it seem warm and fun. So I knew that if he could do that, he could do just about anything. But I wondered, how can anybody possibly swim that far? When you look at the bridge, it's so far that you get exhausted just looking at the lake. And sure enough, when he started, we thought, oh my gosh, maybe he can make 200 or 300 feet before an alligator or a shark decides it's time to have an entree. And rather than that happening, he just kept on swimming. And every time I was worried that perhaps he'd been devoured by an animal or sunk to the bottom, he would come out of the water and say, that was great, and then go back and swim for a while. So at one certain point, when he said he wanted to have something about dancing in the water, I was able to make up that memorable one time only, never let good taste stand in the way of a good time. Little ditty. And you'll be happy to know we won't repeat that tonight. Actually, I thought when I was at my friend Dean Berkoham's place taking a shower that since there was so much water in the shower, I would make up something else. Playing that instrument actually was the Chinese hula size, so that will be also the first and last performance of Early Morning Lake Pontchartrain, which we will do. But we have some wonderful, wonderful musicians here. And just very briefly, I'd like to say that when someone said, it was last year when I was still leaving my teenage years at the age of 84, someone said, man, how can you play that long without getting tired? Aren't you tired? I said, yes, but look at that guy. Because Matt was out there swimming, and Randy, his coach, was out there paddling for 14 hours. So for me, it was like a Switzerland vacation compared to what Matt and everyone else was doing. We had such a good time. And the beautiful thing was it wasn't just about Superman scoring a touchdown, but rather someone doing all of that to make people in Louisiana and around the country aware that our water is a precious gift, and that what we can do is to make other people aware of that precious gift. And when I played with Pete Seeger for all the years that I did, when they first started the Clearwater, everybody thought he was nuts to build a boat to get kids and grown-ups to come out on a river and have the river exemplify the fact that we all had something in common. He said to me, David, just remember, for the bird to fly successfully, the left and the right wing have to work together. And that's what Pete did his whole life. He also believed that every little trickle helped to make that river flow. And a year before he passed on, they had all the people from way up in Canada, Native people, come down, and people who were celebrating the Three Wampum Treaty came down from upstate New York, and all came to a wonderful event to celebrate what the river was about. After he passed away, we did a traditional ceremony that Pete and I used to do with Native American people at the end. And someone said, do you think we should name the bridge, the Beacon Bridge, rename that after him? I said, look at that river. That's for Toshi and Pete Seeger. That's their legacy, that beautiful water that he helped to get people to clean up. And interestingly enough, in the town of Beacon, where I now live, the most conservative members who were members of the Fishermen's Club all adored Pete because the river was clean and they could go fishing again. And their kids could go swimming again. So they realized that rather than being someone with a banjo trying to overthrow the government, he was someone who loved this country and loved the precious gift of water and all of our children and grandchildren to have a good environment to live in. So I've been very fortunate to be with people like that, and being with Matt and all the people involved in this particular group. It's just an honor to be. It's just an